Marilyn in Sarasota drove herself to the DMV like she's done for years, renewal notice in hand, glasses on, feeling fine. She stood in line, smiled for the photo, and then the clerk said, "Ma'am, we can't finish this today." Her renewal stopped right there because her vision paperwork wasn't on file. She walked out holding the same keys, but with a new fear sitting in her stomach. What if next week I can't legally drive to my doctor? Or pick up my grandkids? And the part that scares most people? She didn't know this was coming. I'm Dave. I track DMV updates, state enforcement changes, and the quiet rule shifts that hit older drivers first, so you don't have to dig through government pages or get surprised at a counter. You've earned your independence, and you deserve clear, calm information, because starting now, the system is changing in a way that punishes small mistakes faster than ever, and the next change is the one that catches careful drivers off guard. For decades, the DMV world worked like this. You renewed, you paid, you drove, and most checks happened only if you got pulled over or had a crash. Before 2026, that occasional check model gave people some breathing room. You could fix a problem after you found out about it. Starting now, more states run on something different. Constant verification, faster reporting, and more technology that checks you without warning. That matters for you because you're not trying to bend rules. You're trying to live your life. You're trying to get groceries without asking your daughter to take off work. You're trying to keep your own calendar, your own keys, your own dignity. Driving isn't just transportation, it's freedom you worked for. And here's the big shift. The system is getting less human, not mean just automatic. A database doesn't care that you've driven safely for 40 years. A camera doesn't care that you only picked up your phone at a red light. A renewal screen doesn't care that your insurance lapsed for one day during a billing mistake. That's why. You need a new kind of preparation. So I'm going to walk you through 3 rule changes that are spreading across the US, and I'll show you exactly what to do this week to protect your license. First, the one that feels personal because it happens face to face when you least want drama, vision retesting at renewal. If your eyesight has changed even a little, the DMV might treat it like a full stop, not a small issue. In California, once you hit 70, you don't renew the way you used to. California requires drivers age 70 and older to renew in person at the DMV every 5 years. That means no quick online renewal for most people in that age group. It's a different lane with different expectations, and it starts the minute that renewal notice shows up in your mailbox. Now let's make it real. Imagine you're driving to a morning appointment and you think, after this, I'll swing by the DMV and get it done. You walk in feeling prepared, but the DMV isn't thinking about your schedule. They're thinking about vision standards, screening, and whether you fit inside the numbers today. And if you don't, your renewal can slow down fast. California's DMV states its vision screening standard as being able to see 20/40ths with both eyes together and 20/40ths in one eye with at least 20/70ths in the other, with or without corrective lenses. If you fail the screening, they send you to a vision specialist form called the DL62. That's not meant to scare you, it's meant to prove you can drive safely, but it can still turn a simple renewal into a multi-step process. Here's the surprise that hits seniors emotionally. Failing that quick screen can feel like failing as a person, and you and I both know that's not true. You can be a great driver and still have glare trouble at dusk. You can be careful and still struggle with tiny letters. The goal is not shame. The goal is to keep your license by showing the DMV you're still safe. Florida is another state where older drivers run into a very specific vision rule. Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles says drivers over 80 must submit a mature driver vision test form 7-119 when renewing, or take the vision test at a local driver license office. That's a concrete paperwork requirement, not a suggestion. And Florida doesn't keep its vision standards vague. Florida lists a minimum visual acuity standard of 20/70ths in either eye or both eyes together, with or without corrective lenses. And if one eye is blind or 22/100ths or worse, the other eye must be 20/40ths or better. That's the kind of detail that matters, because it tells you what you're aiming for before you ever step into a DMV line. Now picture the real-life version. You schedule nothing, you walk in, you take the screen, you miss a couple lines because your prescription is 6 years old, or because your cataracts are acting up, or because the lighting in that office is harsh. Suddenly you're not almost done. Suddenly you're in come back later territory, and your brain goes straight to the worst thought. What if they take my license? So here's the relief, because you always need an action, not just a warning. The fix is simple, and it's something you can do today. 1. Get your eye exam before renewal season, not after. 2. If your state uses a vision form, ask your eye doctor's office to help you fill it out the same day. And 3. Keep a printed copy in your car folder, even if they submit it digitally, because digital systems lose things. Pattern interrupt for you. Let me ask you a direct question. When was your last eye exam, really? Not, I think, a couple years. I mean, could you point to the month and year? If you can't, that's your sign. You don't wait until the DMV forces the issue. You do it on your timeline. And don't miss this. Many DMVs send renewal notices about 60 days before expiration, like California explains on its senior driver page. That sounds like plenty of time until you need an eye appointment, the doctor is booked, you need paperwork, and the DMV appointment calendar is stacked. 60 days disappears fast when one step turns into 3. This is why I call it a quiet change. It's not always a brand new law. It's stricter follow-through. It's more in-person renewals. It's tighter vision screening standards being enforced consistently. And once you're in that system, you don't want to be reacting. You want to be ready, because the second rule change is even less forgiving. Then vision. With vision, you can take an exam and bring proof. With the next one, the computer can flag you before you even know there's a problem, and it can cost you real money. If your insurance coverage lapses even briefly, the system can catch it faster than it used to. Texas is a perfect example of where verification has gone high-tech. The Texas Department of Motor Vehicles describes TexAssure as an automated database designed to reduce uninsured drivers and quickly identify vehicle owners without mandatory coverage. This isn't a human calling your insurance agent. It's a system built to match records and spot gaps. And if you live in Texas or you have family there, you already feel the direction things are going. TexAssure exists because responsible drivers pay the price when other people drive uninsured. Texas even notes that responsible Texans pay almost $900 million a year to protect themselves against those with no coverage, and estimates about 20% of Texas drivers are uninsured. That's the kind of number that motivates states to automate enforcement. Now let's make it personal. Imagine you switch insurance companies to save money. The new policy starts Friday, the old one ends Thursday, but the payment doesn't process right, or the effective date is off by 1 day, or the company reports the cancellation before it reports the new coverage. You're still the same careful driver, but on paper you look uninsured. Virginia spells out how this monitoring works. Virginia DMV says it verifies vehicles are properly insured by comparing vehicle registration information on file with liability information from insurance carriers. And Virginia says insurance carriers provide updates when they cancel, add, or write new coverage. Translation: the system updates constantly and mismatches trigger letters. Virginia also lays out what can happen if you're uninsured during the registration period. They say uninsured vehicle owners will have driving and vehicle registration privileges suspended, and to be reinstated, Virginia says you must pay a $600 non-compliance fee, file AN Senior 22 for 3 years, and pay a reinstatement fee if applicable. That is not a small oops, that's a financial punch and a paperwork headache. Here's the fear part, and I'm going to keep it honest. The fear is not just the $600, the fear is the domino effect. If your registration is suspended, you can't renew plates normally. If you get stopped, you're explaining a situation you didn't even know existed. And if you're 70, 75, 82, that kind of traffic, stop stress can ruin your day and make you feel like you did something wrong, even when it started as a billing glitch. Now the relief, the fix is not complicated, but you must do it on purpose. First, set your insurance to auto-pay, and then set a second reminder in your calendar anyway, because auto-pay fails sometimes. Second, log into your insurance app once a month and check the policy status screen. You're not being paranoid, you're being smart. In a world that verifies automatically. Third, keep proof of insurance in your vehicle. Virginia DMV says drivers should keep proof of insurance in their vehicle at all times. That simple sentence matters. If a system mismatch happens, proof is how you protect yourself in the moment. Pattern interrupt. I want you to picture the letter, not a scary police letter, a DMV verification letter that says, "We can't confirm coverage." It doesn't accuse you of being reckless. It just tells you the database can't match you today. And if you ignore it because you're busy, that's when the real penalties can start. So here's your open loop, and you need to hear it. vision and insurance are both paperwork compliance, but the third change is behavior compliance, and it's the one that gets good people ticketed because of one tiny habit at one red light. If you're still with me, here's the part most people miss entirely. You can do everything. Right, drive slow, signal, stay sober, and still get hit with a distracted driving ticket because you held your phone for 2 seconds while you were stopped. If this is helping you, take 2 seconds and subscribe, not because I'm trying to sell you something, because I want you to have these updates before the surprise shows up at your door or at your renewal appointment, and in a minute I'll tell you the one car setup change that makes following these phone rules almost effortless. The crackdown on distracted driving has expanded beyond texting while driving. In several states, the rule is closer to, don't hold the phone at all, even when the car is stopped in traffic. Connecticut says it clearly on its highway safety page. It's illegal to use handheld cell phones or mobile electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle, and Connecticut adds the line most drivers don't expect it's illegal to use these devices while you are stopped in traffic or at a stoplight. That means the red light does not protect you. Now imagine your real life. You're a safe driver. You stop fully. You look down just to see who texted. Maybe it's your son. Maybe it's the pharmacy. You're not weaving. You're not speeding. You're stopped. But if an officer sees that device in your hand, that moment can turn into a ticket, and Connecticut's penalties are not gentle. Connecticut lists fines of $200 for the first offense, $375 for the second, and $625 for the third and subsequent offenses. That's not pocket change for most retirees. That's groceries, prescriptions, and peace of mind. Connecticut also explains how enforcement can happen. They describe officers looking for drivers actively using or looking at phones, including using a spotter who reports usage to an officer up the road. That's a pattern you'll see more states use because it makes enforcement easier and more consistent. Now let's talk Georgia, because Georgia's rule is even easier to violate by accident. Georgia's highway safety page says drivers cannot have a phone in their hand or touching any part of their body while talking on the phone while driving. That touching your body detail matters, resting it on your shoulder counts, holding it in your palm counts. Georgia also says the fine for a first conviction is $50 and 1 point, then $100 and 2 points for a second, then $150 and 3 points for 3 or more convictions within 24 months. And here's an unusual detail that can help you. Georgia notes first-time offenders can have the charge dropped by showing the court they obtained a hands-free device. That's a real relief option, but you don't want to rely on it. You want to avoid the ticket entirely. New York is another state where the language is strict about handheld use. New York DMV says you cannot use a handheld mobile telephone or portable electronic device while you drive. An illegal activity includes holding the device while talking, texting, browsing, or viewing images. That word holding is the trap. People think I'm not texting, but if you're holding it, the officer doesn't need to read your screen to write a ticket. And New York's penalties stack up fast. New York DMV lists fines from $50 to $200 for a first offense, up to $250 for a second within 18 months, and up to $450 for a third or subsequent within 18 months. They also notice or charge that can be up to $93, and they add 5 points to your record for a conviction. Then they remind drivers that 11 points in 18 months can lead to license suspension. That's how one small ticket becomes a real license problem. Now let me slow this down because this part hits seniors differently. When you've driven for decades, you built habits during a different era. You were taught, if I'm stopped, I'm safe. But these laws treat stopped in traffic as still driving, and technology has made it easier for police to enforce because they can see that glowing screen from 3 cars away. Here's the fear to relief cycle, and I want you to feel the relief. The fix is not willpower. The fix is setup. Put a cheap phone mount on your dashboard, not to watch videos, just to keep your hands off the phone. Set your phone to do not disturb while driving, or create a simple driving focus mode that blocks text from everyone, except your emergency people. And here's the one habit that saves you. If you must touch the phone for any reason, you pull over and park. Connecticut even gives that advice. Pull over and park before you text. That's not just safety talk. It's legal protection. Pattern interrupt. Quick yes or no question. Do you ever pick up your phone at a red light? Be honest. If the answer is yes, you're normal, but now you also know you're exposed, and the fix is not try harder. The fix is change the environment so it's harder to do. Now here's the open loop I promised earlier. You can protect your license from all three of these changes: vision, insurance, and distracted driving without becoming anxious or overwhelmed. You just need a simple weekly plan, and I'm going to give you that plan right now, in plain English. Here is exactly what I want you to do this week to protect your independence. First, schedule an eye exam if you haven't had one in the last 12 months. Not because you're too old, because renewal systems are more strict and you want control. If you live in a state like Florida with an 80-plus vision form, ask the eye doctor's office to help you complete the required form the same day and keep a copy. Second, look at your renewal timeline on a calendar. In California, the DMV says it sends a renewal notice about 60 days before expiration. 60 days sounds like a lot until you need appointments and paperwork. Mark the expiration date, then mark a 30 days before checkpoint where you confirm you're ready. That one step keeps you from getting squeezed. Third, do a 2-minute insurance checkup. Open your insurance app or website and confirm your policy is active today. Then look at the next payment date. Then check your email and spam folder for any payment failed notice. In states using electronic verification, a lapse can become a DMV letter faster than you expect because DMV systems compare registration records with insurer data. Fourth, build a proof folder in your glove box. Put your insurance card, registration, and renewal notices in one place. Virginia specifically tells drivers to keep proof of insurance in the vehicle at all times, and that's good advice everywhere. If a database mismatch or a traffic stop happens, you don't want to be searching your phone while an officer stands at your window. Fifth, remove the phone temptation in your car. Put a mount and turn on a driving focus mode and make a rule for yourself. My phone stays out of my hands, even at red lights. Connecticut says it's illegal to use handheld devices while stopped in traffic or at a stoplight, and Georgia bans holding or supporting the phone while driving. The safest move is to treat your hands like they're not allowed to touch it at all. And let me give you one more calming truth. These changes don't mean the DMV is coming for seniors. They mean states are using technology to enforce rules more consistently. That consistency can feel unfair when you're a careful driver, but it can also work for you because when you prepare, you pass. When you stay covered, you stay clear. When you keep your hands off the phone, you avoid the ticket. Your most important takeaway is this: the system is moving from occasional checks to constant verification, and you protect your license by getting ahead of the checks. You don't wait for a surprise letter. You don't wait for a failed screen. You don't wait for a ticket to change a habit. If you want, tell me in the comments which of these surprised you most: vision rules, insurance verification, or phone laws at red lights. I read every single one, and if you'd like me to cover your state next, tell me your state and your age, and I'll build a video that fits your exact situation, like the video if it helped you, and subscribe so I can keep doing this for you.